Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm happy to see that you've all survived the snow and making your snow angels and putting down your shovels to be here tonight. We have the distinct pleasure of hearing from Jane, who is very, very accomplished in the beauty industry. She's got over 25 years in product marketing, and all of the things that she's going to talk to us about today have just a depth of experience. And she is also the senior VP of merchandising for Sephora, which is what caught my attention and made me ask her to come and speak to all of you and to our beauty community at large. So without further ado, Jane, thank you for very much for being here.
It's a pleasure. I'm really impressed with everyone's backgrounds and just what you've described so far. A little bit about me. Elizabeth, thank you for asking me to join. I just honestly love being with founders and new brands, creators, all of the talents. That's really what makes my heart beat for my job. I have been decades in beauty, always in premium beauty, going way back to MAC Cosmetics when it was still privately owned, went through the buyout by Estee Lauder, lived with them in New York, opened up a ton of stores, including Macy's Herald Square, the beast that store
Wow.
was, crazy times. Found my way through some startup brands after Mac, and that's what brought me to Boston. So my connection, my heart was really in Boston through a brand called Living Proof. I was the head of global sales, the first one when there were maybe 30 people in the company. It was based in Cambridge. It was built out of MIT. Really interesting founders backed by venture capital to like true science in a bottle. And a hair brand, and we launched on QVC and Sephora. And I found my way back to Toronto when I got married. And was the general manager for Benefit Cosmetics, owned by LVMH. And Sephora is also owned by LVMH. So that became the connector for me. So I've been at Sephora almost 10 years. I cannot believe it. In merchandising. And I'm on the North American merchandising team, which is based in San Francisco. And I'm also on the global merchandising team now. So with that role, I helped brands to expand globally and help, other countries grow their categories. Like we have a lot of data, as you can imagine, to sort of see into the future with what is going to drive demand. So short story with that, I manage my team oversees all the brands, all the newness, placing product online and in stores in the fleet where it might be to really to work with each brand to build their brand business within Sephora. My heart is with brands. I do love what I do. It's like the flip side of being on the brand side. I know that we can drive brands crazy. I also know that we can drive a lot of growth for them. And essentially, I've seen everything from big, big, big brands to tiny baby startup brands that launch in our business and grow, and we work with founders. So I'm just here to kind of be open and answer any questions that you might have as to the industry, to retail, to beauty in general, to trends, to how to navigate a big retailer, to I get a lot of questions about how to structure my company for growth. I am in touch with a lot of, financing PE and VCs who invest in beauty because there's a lot of investment there. So I'm very familiar with that. Um, and I'm familiar with the big guys too, like the L'Oreals, the Lauders, the Codys of the world. So from tiny baby to massive, massive, I've seen it all, and just to answer any questions that you might have and to chat about this great business.
So what do you see? We're all at the beginning of 2026. The world is blowing up around us. And so, people are looking to comfort things, right? There's that whole lipstick. Um, I don't know the word to call it, but there's the lipstick theory,
Effect. Yeah.
right? Yes, the lipstick effect. Are you seeing anything like that going on today in the consumer area where it relates to feel good products, which is skincare and self-care?
Yeah, and so in general, our category is pretty resilient to economic downturns, for the reason that people still want a small luxury. So
Mhm.
even in premium beauty or prestige, as we call it, let me just roll that back. In beauty in general, we sort of classify it as an insider into three categories. There's mass market, which is sold like CVS, Walgreens. There's Masstige, which is sort of that mid-tier price point, Target, D2C brands. There's, a lot of them. And then there's Prestige, which includes luxury. Those lines are getting very blurry. They used to be a lot more clear than they are now. So it's very blurry. And by the way, as a consumer, you shop it all, right?
Yeah.
So, we try to see things as a consumer does and not be so myopic into like, oh, it's prestige only. But by definition, Sephora globally is a prestige beauty retailer. So my expertise is in that area. So it is pretty resilient. It has proven to be. I've seen several economic downturns. I was working on a brand side in 2008. I was just launching a new product in September when, the market crashed and the recession started essentially. But even, the business just took a small hit in that year.
Mm.
People will take it, they'll trade down. They'll trade down from, they won't buy a Chanel handbag maybe or shoes, but they'll buy a Chanel, lipstick. The trend we also see in post-COVID is continuing, which is self-care.
Mm.
And Elizabeth, you mentioned skincare. So people really got into new routines during COVID, and they have continued with those routines in general. So more skincare, more body care, more at-home treatments for hair. Less, the salon business has really taken sort of a long-term hit in since COVID. It is recovering, but people really transition to more at-home, treatments and stuff. That's continuing. People have new routines, and I believe they're going to keep them up. Makeup is more of a cyclical business. We've come off a couple of years of the very clean girl aesthetic, which was sort of less makeup, very skin forward, not wearing a lot of layers like of makeup like you might have seen in 2016 when it was all about the Instagram face and that was we have all these terms in beauty. So so makeup but we're in a cycle now where we think we're coming out of that clean girl aesthetic going into more makeup. There's another macro trend is young people into beauty.
Hmm.
So it's really interesting when I see your brand Mind line about, for young people. You may have heard that Sephora attracted attention because a lot of Gen A's started to come into our stores. We have really young people, like 8 years old, 10 years old, coming in with their phones and shopping. They love skincare. They're building a routine at home. So we've had to adjust to being responsible and how to help those people. But they're into beauty a lot earlier than we have ever seen. And those routines are only going to follow them in their life and they'll change products and brands. But it's so interesting. So we have all the generations. Like we have Gen A's coming into the business. We certainly have Gen Z's. We have, we always had the millennial. That was our gal. Now Gen X there's a like it's cool to be Gen X now, which is really fun. And new brands are coming out to speak to them. And they're coming, in great numbers. So it's like this, all the people are there for beauty.
Fantastic. And I'd love to ask Felix and Aaliyah, are you, well, particularly Felix for starters, are you seeing a bigger trend towards your skincare versus your cosmetic line for the males? Or are you not seeing, are you seeing some of what Jane's talking about?
No, I'm absolutely seeing what Jane's talking about. I feel like there's interest younger and younger and younger. So even thinking about the terminology that we're using, anti-aging, is that appropriate for someone who's maybe 20? Like probably not. Maybe it's more about like skin maintenance or skin shielding. Like that's kind of the thoughts that have been going on behind the scenes. Um, and as far as makeup, I feel like the guys aren't quite looking for
Mm.
that just
Yeah.
yet. So
Mhm.
it's more of my job to kind of introduce that a little bit. But
Okay.
if anything, if beauty has taught us anything, is that the best makeup is with the best skin.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that they're good on skin first, and then we'll slowly evolve.
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Aaliyah, you're new into this, but is that something that you were conscientious of and why you went down this path? Or is there some other knowledge that you are just trying to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a mom, and when my daughter hit 8, which was like 4 years ago, the whole impetus for Mind Line started because, like what you're saying, Jane, I would see her and her friends going into Sephora. They would be pulling things off the shelves. They didn't know what they were, but they loved the way the bottle looked, and they would bring them home and not use them, but it was more like of a currency thing. And having raised her with like really clean products for, beauty, so to speak, as like a baby, and then clean eating habits, finding that there wasn't a lot of clean options for that age group that didn't have actives in them, made me want to sort of jump in. And so that's where we are. But Sephora has been such a huge part of this development for this age group. It's so interesting. It's almost, I feel like, talked about more amongst like the preteens than it is amongst the adults at this point. So
And I
it's
don't
great.
know about anybody else in this room, but when I was growing up, nobody was talking about skincare. We were still slathering baby oil on ourselves and going sitting out in the sun. Like, and I know I'm probably aging myself, but we weren't doing skincare. My mother put Nivea on us and she used Pond's cold cream. And
Yeah.
that's what I grew up with. So it's fun to see younger and younger age groups. Actually, you don't, I now live in Puerto Rico. You don't see a child that's not covered in white. They are slathered in sunscreen. We didn't have that growing up. So it's very interesting to see how everything is changing. And I think that that leads to then that earlier skincare routine, which was, wash your face, brush your teeth, go to bed was my skincare routine.
Well, I think it's so
Just
important for the kids to learn healthy routines that they can then build upon, like from this age. And there is a need, when you're off playing sports until 7 at night, you come home, you really should be washing your face. So I hope that I'm filling a need and not just creating a want. But yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah.
yeah. It's so true. And our CEO, we've looked at ourselves a lot about, being, as I said, being responsible with these really young people coming in for skincare, right? And we have a lot of accessible, like low priced, very active brands that you don't want them to be using. So we've trained our advisors to really guide that, right, to like some of the products that are not active, but are they'll know them from TikTok, they'll know them from social and their friends. But what we say is that it's not a new thing to have, young kids, interested. I know in my day it was like going to the drugstore and you'd buy your CoverGirl or whatever it might be, and yes, it wasn't skincare to your point, but it was, we were always interested. But it's just social media drives it so much with their access to it and the knowledge, and that fuels a ton of the business and demand. So it's reaching those age groups. But the other thing I wanted to say is that, we speak, Felix, to men. That's another phenomenon we're seeing. We're seeing, especially through fragrance, like young guys are so into fragrance, smell maxing, driven by TikTok. They're coming into our stores. It's a lot more open and accessible now. And we do see them moving into makeup. We're started through fragrance. We see them buying skincare. We see them, in the future moving into makeup, and we're excited about it to be, to be accessible to all.
That's fantastic. Felix, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that's actually like really, really exciting. To share a little bit of my other extra background, before being a brand founder, I actually was a Sephora SUBC facilitator. So I actually taught back when Sephora classes happened before COVID, the
Mm.
actual like lesson plans for customers and how to, do your makeup, how to do your natural face, how to do your highlight contouring. I was kind of like the one teaching the classes for Massachusetts. Um, and part of the reason I started the brand was because there was a lot of demand for how does a guy do makeup but still
Mm.
look like a guy?
Yeah.
Going from like, hey, cover up this hickey to no, no, no,
Mhm.
like let's actually like I'm seeing the YouTube, I'm seeing the Instagram at the time. Like, how do we do this? So between that and the amazing launch that Fenty was,
Mhm.
I kind of had no choice but to, jump the gun and say like, let's do it.
Great. Good for you.
Yes.
Where are you
It's
selling your brand? Where do you sell?
so it's mostly D2C. There's a retailer in Chicago, Marve Lane, very, very small retailer. Um, Very clean, very luxury. It's like a mini Neiman Marcus, but hyper, hyper clean focused. Very family owned. They're in Chicago. They've been doing well for me there. And actually, I'm going to be in America's Beauty Show this coming April, doing
Mhm.
going back to my presenter roots and teaching roots to do a class for barbers. So eventually, we're going to be tackling a lot of barbershops to kind of add the service like a little mini facial.
And what's your brand name again?
The brand name is Adonis Arcana.
Adonis Arcana.
Yes.
His packaging is outrageously spot on. You can tell he's been in Sephora for years because his packaging is spot on. Products are phenomenal. Small batch, right? You're still doing small batch products.
Yes,
Mhm.
still doing small batch. Actually, I think one of the things that I did at the end of last year was actually meeting with a bunch of cosmetic chemists and formulators to help me like scale up because I
Mhm.
know it's coming.
Mhm.
So I've got some of those relationships lined up and just kind of like ready to do that, you know, press play button.
Good for you.
Thank
That's
you.
fan that's fantastic. I have more questions for Jane, but what I'd like to do is open it up to the floor because we're here for you. So, do you have questions? And just raise your hand and if that's all right with you, Jane,
Mhm. Sure.
let's just go down that road.
I have just a quick question.
It can be a long question too.
Okay, it might be a long answer, but you mentioned LVMH.
Mhm.
Could you go into any more details about that? What is it exactly? And
Mhm.
because I've seen it popping up recently in my social media, so
Absolutely. Parent company LVMH stands for Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. So it is a Paris-based, really family run, but it's publicly traded in Paris, and it is the world's leading luxury um, house of, we call them maisons of luxury brands. So Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior. In makeup, they own Guerlain, Givenchy, Benefit, Sephora as a retailer. There are multiple divisions within LVMH. They have luxury, they have retail as one, wines and spirits, fashion, and then leather goods. And so there's multiple pillars. If you look on their site, you'll be astonished at how many incredible big brands they have.
Do they have jewelry brands too, Jane? They must.
Tag Heuer, they have there's so many.
I did not know they had to.
Tiffany,
I
they own Tiffany now. They bought Tiffany in
Okay.
2020, 2021.
Okay. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, Jessica?
Yes, I thought it had something to do with Louis Vuitton, but I didn't know
The
that it's
breadth.
like an
Yeah.
umbrella of like all of these brands. So
That's the big daddy.
very interesting. Thank you.
Felix, you have some questions for Jane?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess one of the bigger questions that I'm sure you get all the time, like
Mhm.
all the time, is when you're looking at brands, what are some things that really get you excited about a potential brand? And then also kind of like on the flip side, what are
Mhm.
some like big red flags?
That's a great question. So I'll tell you, here's how here's what we look at. And we have a team, I have a team of merchants that they're specialists in every category. So I have a hair team, skincare team, fragrance team, and makeup team. So they really, obsess about each of those categories. They're real experts. There's also what they do is an art and a science. So the science is the data, the numbers, the forecast, that kind of thing. The art is the understanding of product and the kind of the gut feeling about how it will be, and also about the people and the team. So we have seen and launched a brand even from a deck and a concept, that we may know the founders or who, the group that is behind the brand, to like a great concept that just got us excited, to there's one SKU in a lab bottle, that we're shown, to a very developed brand. Like you may have heard, we launched Rode last year, right? So that was pretty big brand to launch. Here's what gets us excited, what we love. At the end of the day, it has to be a really good product. And we use this word a lot at Sephora. It's called differentiation, meaning what's the point of difference of that product? How does it fill a white space in our offerings? So, we're not interested in just, cannibalizing a very like brand. We want it to be different and unique. We want it to be worthy of being in prestige. We love founders. We love an active founder who has a true connection to that brand. And so I know it's an overused word, authentic, but we've met, there's been a lot of celebrity brands that have come our way that there's not a real authentic connection from the celebrity to the brand. They generally don't have success. An authentic founder, the story, the creator story, and why they've created this. We look at a pipeline of innovation. So it's not it beyond that one product that you are, developed or developing. What can come next? Because as you know, beauty is a business of newness, right? There's newness and core, and they're almost equal in weight. And, newness drives a lot of business. It's going to attract new consumers, going to give you something to talk about, keeps you competitive, all those things. We look at the team around the founder, and sometimes the team is one person, or sometimes it's no people. Sometimes you're doing it all, and we totally get that. And you probably have outsourced, contract manufacturing and maybe, a marketer, an agency. We totally get it. But what is the potential to have a team? If the brand is already in business, we do social listening. So we'll look at commentary. What are they talking about on social? What are ratings and reviews? Like, we'll talk about where you're doing business and what your mix of business looks like. And then, are you in a good financial position to be able to launch a big retailer? So that's one of the considerations. And then our merchants are really good at actually giving guidance. Many of the brands that have launched with us very small and then have been acquired by the strategics will tell you that, we say, in the kitchen with these brands to guide them and give them all sorts of advice and guidance. We have a lot of data that you can imagine. We've seen a lot of trends. We see other countries. We see like every brand out there. So we can give some really good guidance if a brand is open to it, still keeping within your own DNA of your brand and your own, strategies. So that's what we look at. And when you ask about red flags, um, I think that well, if the product is just not great, like if we just feel like it's just either a total knockoff of something else, a dupe, as you will, or maybe the packaging is just not right. Sometimes we'll work to change that to help the founder improve that before they launch if we love the product, like um but and also if we feel that I've mentioned before about this founder connection, that if it's not like real, like if we really don't feel like it's like there's a real passion and a drive to keep going, because it takes a lot of drive. As once you've launched, it's just that's the easy part. Then it
Yeah.
starts, as we say. Um, then we're like we may not, but we're strict editors. You can imagine we see a lot, and a lot of it comes down to our merchants will say, wow, it's just really, really cool. We just have to look at this because it's different. We love the packaging, love the founder story, and then assuming the product works and delivers on its promise, then there's a big gate crossed.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. I mean, I feel like maybe selfishly speaking, the founder connection these days is kind of growing more and more important from what I'm seeing in the brands that people are choosing to like support. A lot of them are because of the founder. You look at Rode. No one really tried Rode before it launched at Sephora, unless you were a major fan. But so
Mhm.
many people just blind bought Rode because of Hailey Beaver, and they fell in love with it, and they love it, and it's probably one of the biggest brands right now. But it really is all the founder. So that's really cool that you think about that.
Yeah, and then we have lots of brands that are founder created that are, they might be a derm, or if you look at, there's a skincare brand, Dieu, that we have. It's an up and coming brand, Charlotte Palomino, and her partner. So she's, a facialist in background. She's super vocal on social about transparency, and, she goes political too, and like all the things, but she's just a really passionate brand founder who is not a celebrity. Like she was
Yeah,
not known 3 years ago in any way. But great product, great brand. The last thing I forgot to mention is what's really important to customers more and more is sustainability, being a good steward of the earth and clean. It's in skincare, it's almost table stakes now to be clean, defined by we have our own standards that are published. Different retailers have their own standards as well. But that's, it's almost table stakes now, especially in skincare and body care.
I would agree.
Aaliyah, did you have a question?
Yeah, just sort of following on what Felix said. So you don't actually have like a life span or a certain criteria of being established that you look for before like a brand could consult with you or approach you.
No, I mean,
Okay.
that's the difference with Sephora, actually. It's one of the um, it's sort of our superpower and our strength is that we love to find and incubate small brands. And that's the reason why, if you go into one of our stores, you see in the skincare wall, for example, it's called the next big thing. in skincare. And we have that now in makeup, we have it in fragrance, and we have it in hair. And so we can start a brand on a little one shelf, 12 inches. And so it's a really good way of a lower cost, lower risk model to introduce a new brand into our business, to the market. And we don't have to, we can offer that through select stores, for example. And imagine in the background, we're marketing that brand. We're working through our very powerful channels. We have online, we have the app, we have social media, and so we have this powerful, marketing platforms. So space in stores, small space. And so many brands will start there, then they can graduate off the wall. Felix, I see you're nodding because you probably know some of these brands.
Well,
And
I think Drunk Elephant started there, right?
Drunk Elephant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's so many. Tatcha. There's like so many brands have started on that wall for this reason.
So the $1 million question, how does a brand get in front of Sephora to be reviewed, especially if they're new or they're small or they are the solopreneur with a great product and fabulous packaging and some sales, but not the thousands of dollars of sales.
There's different ways to meet us. Um, there is one way where there's a platform, Range Me, but truth be told, the best way is either an introduction to a merchant or someone in the category, or send the product to the merchants of the category. So the skincare, the director of skincare, for example, there's a director, VP, senior VP. Send them a note. We hear from a lot of brands, and we also care a lot about responding and either having a conversation if we can or trying the product. We try product all day long. And so as the skincare team, for example, the best thing is to send your best of, if it's not your full assortment, send your hero products with a personalized note, and to say, please try it. I'd love to have a call, even if it's a 15-minute call to see what you think. And so that's the best way. If you know someone who knows someone, like an introduction, is always helpful, but just reach out to the merchant team. They do a lot, they're looking on social media just like all of you. It's a young team. And if it comes their way, they'll often discover things that way. They'll reach out to the brand and say, this looks really cool. Can you send me this? We'd like to test it and try it. Just know that even with there's a lot of brands that come their way, like Goodness does stand out. You'll notice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you almost get tons of stuff sent to review all the time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
we
imagine what
do.
your inbox is like.
My team gets a lot. They really do try it. I'll tell you, like, it's funny because if you look at a hair brand, hair products are like big, right? So my hair team, I have to give them so much space around them because they get all these like big products. Skincare is like small. But if you believe it fills a white space, that is unique and different, and really work to highlight why your product is really different. What's the origin story, the DNA of the brand? Like, what is the essence of that brand that will make this connect with a large group of consumers, whether it's their moms or kids, and then the marketing plan is really important because a big part of your investment, your P&L as a startup will be in marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Ellie, I probably took over. I'm sorry. I really wanted to get that question out because, everybody's going to want to know that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, Jane, if like very specifically, Sephora just launched the first targeted to teens, preteens brand, which is Ever Eden, which also sells to moms and babies. So it's kind of more across the spectrum. Given that, do you think there's a bit of a pause in wanting to add to this category, or it's the first of maybe opening up the category?
It's so interesting because I've actually worked with Evereated for some years and we've just seen a lovely growth. And again, it's with kind of the current of awareness and current of this new younger group coming in and moms like yourself and delivering the need. So I think that it is an openness by bringing in this brand, it shows an openness on the retailer part that there is potential there for that consumer, for business there, for that category. Within the sea of everything going on, a lot of momentum in Korean skincare right now, as you probably know. But that's one avenue, right? And so I do think that it could open the door to more interesting brands. And that's one space that when I talk about white space, you mentioned there's one brand, right? And so it's really an interesting space.
Okay, thank you.
So when you look at putting something on your shelf, whether it's the, new up and coming or whether it's a major brand, is there a difference in what you look for online versus in store?
Omni-channel is super important because what the consumer journey nowadays is, they're going to do their research on their phone or on
Mhm.
social, and then they'll go into store, they'll discover there, and then they're still on their phone looking at ratings and reviews.
Right.
So generally they're one and the same. Like if the offering is both, we do have we have more ability, call it extended aisle online to offer more SKUs there. And you'll see more offerings like ancillary products or gift sets, maybe that, just can't be housed in store with space. And there's some things there are some brands that are online only. And that can be a really good thing for a brand to start as online,
Mm.
because no costs associated, with supporting stores and their retail business. It's a different kind of P&L model. So generally it's the same with some additions online.
And if you are to bring in a new product line, is there a standard like we need 150,000 pieces, we need 500 pieces? Do you have a standard or does it just depend on the product?
It absolutely depends on the product and in that category. And then there's a detailed forecast that is worked on well in advance with the brand we have a lot of data and we have experts in our planning team. Any retailer would work this way. And then the important thing is not just here's the first order and like a sort of let's say it's a 2-month order to fill the launch timing. It's like, what if things take off and can you supply behind it? And this is where your own ops and your forecasting is so important.
Right. And for those people in the Boston Beauty Coalition, do know that there's things such as purchase order financing, so that if you were to get, say, an order from a large manufacturer, and I worked with a woman who was creating a makeup for Walmart, actually Walmart in Canada, and the amount of product they needed for her to do her launch was more than she could handle. And so we worked together on getting her a purchase order loan. So those things are options if you are lucky enough to have something like this. So just know that you don't have to have, this ton of money ahead of time. But I want to make sure that the coalition knows that there are options and that we can help with that. Felix, did you have another question?
Well, I was gonna say, like, I think just like when starting a brand, there was all this work that went into starting the brand, and then we launched. And then you realize, like you said earlier, like that was just the beginning. There's so much more work happening. Um, my instincts are saying getting into Sephora is going to be a similar idea, getting in and doing the purchase order and getting everything ready. Great. But then actually sell through and getting reorders and getting maybe off of that little 12-inch wall into like a larger presence,
Mhm.
that's more work.
Yeah.
So, um, I guess the question is how do you what are some things that you have seen that have made brands like Drunk Elephant successful, like Tatcha or even Tata Harper, that they got off of that wall, they started to, make their sales, they started to be a presence. Um, but also how does Sephora help to
Mhm.
curate and incubate that success?
Great question. So for you, I think about a kind of similar-ish brand might be a Makeup by Mario brand. So started very small, maybe started on the next big thing. But or maybe an end cap, probably like a four shelf, very small assortment, ready to build into it. So there was the launch, a lot of marketing around Mario. Founder story came from Sephora. Kim Kardashian's makeup artist helped. So really telling about the man, the makeup artist. So there was a lot of marketing on his side. So when you think of launching, in terms of the marketing, you have to think about it as there's the retail marketing with your retailer, and then there's your brand marketing. So your brand marketing is your site, your own social media, your social investment, your creators, the content, a lot of content. You guys have to be content houses these days, right?
Yeah.
You know that. Anne, who's on, the content creator will know this. So,
Exactly. I was thinking that.
uh,
I was
Yes,
like, Anna's
indeed.
smiling.
Yes.
it's like we have to be as much about the product and as much about content as product now as brands because we need a lot of content. Anyways, it's back to the question. So you quickly see a star product that rises to the surface, right? If you do, maybe you know what it is now. Maybe you have an incredible eyeliner, or whatever it might be. Mario had sticks, I think, it was probably one of the first. And when you see that rise, like the star product, that becomes the anchor of the brand. It will drive a lot of business. It generally is what you're going to invest in. It's really going to attract new consumers. You'll talk about that in your social. That is a star product strategy. Um, and then you drive that and it doesn't you don't go from launch to selling to Shiseido like Drunk Elephant did in one day. There's literally day by day, by launch, by meeting, by meeting, by meeting. But you be ready for building literally boots on the ground, as a founder, going to stores, going to the events, talking about who you are, why your brand. You have to win over the hearts and minds of the BAs in all these stores. They're going to sell for you, as you know. And then the online, it does the same thing with the quality of your product page content. So I can throw a lot at you, and I don't mean to. Just stop me if
Oh,
you need clarification, but it's really a good thing to start small, small space, small assortment, discover what your best ofs are that can really stand out in this sea of a lot of product, so that you can invest in those and that becomes, oh, people may not remember your brand name, but they're going to remember, oh my God, that really great eyeliner for guys, right? You want
right.
to optimize search, because that's where they're going to go. So, and then, it's literally a day by day, week by week, working with your merchant to making the adjustments, and so you're doing that as you're working on your next launches and next year and 3 years from now.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it takes a village. It takes a village for
Yeah.
sure. But it's really interesting. So then there's constant conversations then between like merchant and brand.
Yes. Absolutely. And along the way, it's a really good thing to ask for help. Like if you're not, it's a lot of people to navigate, whether you're at an Ulta or a Nordstrom or Sephora or any, but you have all these different departments who are there to, there's education, there's retail stores, there's marketing, there's merchandising, there's online merchandising, there's all these. So it's okay to say, I don't know the best way to work with all of you. Like walk me through it and we will do that. And we want to do that just to make you successful. It's a big investment for any retailer to bring on a new brand.
Mm.
And the intention by doing this is that we want to build a long-term relationship and a long-term success story. These are not just words, it's very true. It takes a lot of our investment, our time, our efforts to literally launch a brand. And that's why we're selective, and that's why we want to create success for the brand.
I love that.
Go right ahead, Aaliyah.
Just really following up on that, to for myself to make my company a worthwhile investment, like you're saying, being brand new, having a very tight line that I've worked for years on, and believe in these products so much. I've seen with the people that use them that they're, really blown away by the four products that we have. What I'm going very heavily into social media, specifically, with the target audience and the duality of the parents and the kids both, to engage them both. What would I do to make myself a better looking investment for Sephora if that is, a huge goal?
Yeah, build your social media following.
Mhm.
That's, building your own awareness. It's good to come into a major retailer with some awareness. Although I have told you that we have launched a brand from a deck that is not the norm.
Mhm.
So if you come to us with some awareness that you're building again, so that we can see like the social listening, like we get the essence of your brand from looking at, your social media, what people are saying. I would really look at that because that's going to be one of the key metrics of, they'll look at build your D2C. You're going to have your best learnings from that. So you're going to have, comments from stay close to your consumer that way. And they're going to be the best guys in the beginning and give you the best feedback. See what the return purchase rate is, because of those are points of data you can bring to a major retailer. Say, like, I have a 50% repeat rate. That's amazing, right? So, and my number one selling product is this moisturizer, and this is what people say about it. People will give you feedback on everything, packaging, price point, like just be ready. Um, and be open. And this is the phase where, just, build your brand and your direct sales and your voice in the marketplace that can be, you'll learn like in this phase and to be most differentiated to bring to a major.
Okay. Thank you. That's invaluable.
So, Aaliyah, how long have you've been working on the product for a long time? How long since you launched?
Um, just over a month. We launched
Okay.
before the holidays.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
huge. That's
it is.
huge.
It
So
is.
congratulations, because so many people get up to that part and go, oh, never mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
a it's a wild
congratulations.
ride. It's a learning experience, and
It's
just
just
so
beginning.
this to have this webinar tonight. So thank you
Yep,
all.
perfect timing.
Great. I'm
Yeah.
looking at your site now. I think, you have, just looking at your site, I see you have four products. You have a meaningful assortment. So you have a cleanser people need, a moisturizer, your SPF, and a lip balm. That's the basics right? I love that. I love your packaging looks
Thank you.
fun and young and differentiated. I like the
Yes.
names of the products. you're already getting 5 stars.
Yeah.
So and then you have a value set. So that's I mean, and then a little clip. That's cute. It looks great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for looking at it. Yeah. I thought we put a lot of work into that to look different. It's not neon and it's maybe a little bit more um, inclusive because I'm gonna maybe be a precursor to Felix's line, but like I think the boys should be using it at this age too. And my daughter's friends that are boys go into Sephora and are curious as well. So I wanted to appeal to that and not have pink and neon. And I'm a lawyer by trade. So this was a lot of research to figure that I wanted to just be these four products because that is what is necessary right now. And, there is room to grow, but I just really wanted to do something that I believed in. And so thank you so much for looking at
The other thing I'll tell you, so I'll take off my Sephora hat
it.
and I will tell you all that I know that, we are, definitely the aspirational retailer. And that's what we do well. But if I'm a brand founder, there are definitely other channels that you can launch in that can give you some success without being like a massive step. Felix, you mentioned with a Chicago retailer. There's one in LA. I'm thinking of like that makeup artist store. You probably know.
Yes, it's escaping me, but I think they have like Makeup Forever. They
Yeah,
have a couple of
right,
other like brands like that.
right.
Yeah.
There's,
Nigel's.
yeah, well, I'll remember, but there's a few places like that. There's re other like clothing retailers. There are certainly of Credo, which is a wonderful retailer, and it's right on Charles Street. So there's other ways that when you're ready, and a month after you've launched, you're probably not ready yet, in my opinion. But when you are, like, look at maybe some other ways to bring your brand, meaningfully to market.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Aaliyah, if I can make any introductions for you in the Boston network, please let me know. We'll be doing some more networking events where you can meet salon owners and such. Also, reach out to Autumn, and maybe she can do some sort of a expo on you or something to help you get some content out there. Really quickly, Felix, how long have you been in business? I want to say 5 years, but I'm not sure. How long have you been in business?
Yeah. The way that I always tell the story is research and development started in 2018. So I have been a registered business since 2018, but my launch didn't actually happen until the beginning of 2021. So right in that like
Okay, so
Happy
right
New Year
around almost
pandemic.
5 years. Yep.
Yeah, so about 5 years of official like sales track.
Right. Okay. Because you've worked in my markets. I've gone to your product launches. Okay.
Yes. That
All right.
Oscar party, that was fun.
The Oscar party was a blast. Yep. Okay. Fantastic. I recognize what time it is. Are there any last questions or any last words of wisdom from you, Jane? First off, any last questions? Okay.
I have
Any last words?
one
Oh,
more
yeah, go
question.
right ahead.
I'm really sorry. I know we're at the very end, but being someone who's outside of a lot of this, what do you see as something that's lacking? Like you say, differentiation, like the white space. Do you see any trends or anything that people could be leaning towards, or that you see that you is a need for beauty,
Mm,
skincare? I know it's like 8 o'clock. I'm so sorry.
no, I always think about it in terms of categories. I go skincare, I go hair, because that's the way we think at work. Well, I'm really excited what I said in the beginning about by this, like the differentiation of brands coming for different stages of life, shall we say?
Mm.
So Gen X. So I'll give you an example of Sarah Creel is a makeup line that is, purely for that woman, Gen X woman. Bobbi Brown, the
I
brand,
was
has
just
been
gonna say
making,
that Jones Road just
and
came up
Jones
for that.
Road.
Yeah.
It's like now it's going to be in all your feeds, and it's like they're doing a great job. So they're speaking to that consumer who has often felt neglected because of millennials and Gen Zs. I'm excited by what we're talking about, the little ones, and getting them into a proper learning about skincare, and then, bringing them into beauty later on with, other responsible, products in their journey. Stages of life, menopause, perimenopause for women, and the different things that are associated with that, hair loss for men and women. If anyone could crack the code on that, you will be a very wealthy person. But there's good treatments, good things coming out. And just really, I think the most people are just they care about responsible stewards of the earth and being a good business person with, good packaging that is sustainable, that you consider all of those factors. We put too much waste into um, into the world, in our industry, and we care about doing something about that. So those are some areas.
Are there any are you seeing any body cares for specific post GLP-1
Mm.
people? I mean, I see people losing just scads of weight and then they're like, now what do I do with this? Do we see a lot being developed for that at this time, or is that just a surgical thing?
Yeah, not yet, Elizabeth, but I bet it will come because I know we're
Yeah,
seeing it in everywhere. And trust me,
absolutely.
if there's our whole industry is based on if there's a new problem, there'll be a solution. And then they're also very good at taking a problem, breaking it down into micro problems, right? So I was just thinking as you were saying this of an example of this. Oh, here's something. Everyone is hearing the word longevity
Mm.
right everywhere. And now we're seeing brands bring longevity into their offerings. Like we have longevity serums that are, really for the long-term health of the skin through ingredients. But this is a new, feature of skincare. So I can certainly see that coming.
And I bet you that actually speaks well to Felix, what you were talking about the anti-aging and, reterming that as longevity.
Yeah, I've seen longevity a couple of times pop up, and yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's
Everybody
a
says they want to live forever. I don't believe them, but Um, Jane, I can't thank you enough for this. I think you have given us a world of information and things, that I didn't realize Sephora was so open to, these developing brands. So it makes me feel much higher value of spending my money at Sephora, knowing that you are giving back to the community that's working so hard to be part of the Sephora community. So thank you for that from Boston Beauty Coalition. But thank you also for all this information. I think it was really helpful, and will be for all those who watch it on the replay.
This was so fun. Thank you for having me. It's been a really great conversation and lovely to meet each of you.
Thank you, Jane.
so good to meet you, Jane.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Jane.
Thank you.